As you all know, my favorite gun, as I've said in my past 2 videos, is my Glock 36. My Glock 36 is an excellent gun. I love that gun. It's easily concealable, but it's not small enough where I can conceal on every occasion. So for the times where I need something even more compact, even smaller, I decided to go ahead and go with the Kahr PM9. I was looking at the LC9, but I wasn't a big fan of that trigger, and I really couldn't really wrap my head around purchasing that gun, as I didn't feel I was really comfortable with the trigger. It was kind of gritty and it was very long and a bit unpredictable. So I did some research and decided to go ahead with the PM9. When I first showed my friend this gun, the first thing he said was he thought it looked cheap. So that was funny because I thought it looked expensive. But now that I look back on it, I can see why he would think that this gun looked kind of cheap. But that soon comes to rest. You know, once you actually start to handle it and get a good purchase on the gun and actually pick it up and use it, you start to realize that it's pretty quality. It's a quality gun. When you pick this gun up, the first thing you notice is, of course, you're only gonna get 2 fingers around the handle of this gun, and your pinky kind of dangles a little bit here. Now, the gun does come with an extended mag, which carries 7 rounds, as opposed to the flush mag that carries 6 rounds. Now, with the extended mag, you got a little extension at the bottom where you're able to get a better purchase on the gun. You can get 3 fingers around the gun. Me personally, I'm not, either way works fine for me. I don't need the gun. I don't need to be able to get all 3 fingers on the gun. So either way works for me pretty much. But for those people who really feel like they need to get 3 fingers on the gun, it does come with an extended mag. Now you will lose some concealability with this, but not much, to be honest with you. And to be honest with you, I don't think it's that much more so where anybody would really notice at all. Now, for such a small gun, it does feel good in the hand. Now, I do have small hands, so maybe that might be the reason why I really feel good with this gun in my hand. One thing I will say is that it has this checkering. I don't know if you can get that in and see that. It has this checkering on the back and on the front. And when you first look at it, you don't think it's that aggressive. But man, these things, after long periods of time of shooting, it's not that it becomes uncomfortable, but it'll actually leave, I don't know if you can catch that, it'll leave imprints on your hands. So I guess for the most part, it gets the job done. I will say that much. You do feel very secure with this gun in your hand. You don't feel like it's going to jump out of your hand at any point. And then the slide serrations on the gun do give you a great purchase, enough to where you can slide the slide back. This car is fitted with very tight tolerances. So when you first get this car, it's going to be kind of tight to rack. But as you break the gun in, it becomes considerably looser, and it's very smooth actually. And it's among one of the quieter slides that I've encountered, and I'm assuming it's because this gun doesn't sit directly on metal rails. The metal rails are actually integrated in the plastic frame of the gun on the inside. For time's sake, I'm not going to do a takedown and show you. I'll probably do it in another video. But what that does is allows the gun to actually sit somewhat on the plastic. And the polymer finish is very tough, so there's no concern with the reliability of the polymer frame and undergoing the stress of sliding with the stainless steel sliding on top of it. But it does make for considerably quieter slide. So if I ever needed to rack the slide quietly, I can do so with no problems. Speaking of the slide, there are a lot of videos out there that tell you that when you rack that you would have to load a magazine and then utilize the slide stop in order to engage. Now, me personally, what I've noticed is after the gun is broken in for some time, there's no problem with you racking the slide and slingshotting it into chamber, into battery, with no problem. And I'll demonstrate that here now. I'm gonna load around. All right, I'm gonna load around, and I'm just gonna, and it's loaded. So from that standpoint, there is no issue with slingshotting the slide to chamber around like some videos have alluded to. Kahr is known for their trigger. Their trigger, one more time. The trigger is a machined aluminum trigger, a one piece, and it's really smooth. I really do love the trigger on this gun. It makes for some enjoyable shooting. And if you notice, it's a very slight slack initially before you actually start to engage the trigger. And when you do so, it's a consistent, smooth pull until it breaks about there, which is about normal. This is a double action only gun, and there isn't much of a reset. The reset is pretty far, so it's a straight up double action. But the trigger is very smooth. Unlike the LC9, which kind of stages a little bit and it's kind of mushy and extremely long, this trigger, very smooth. And it's not too far back. I believe it's about an 8-pound trigger pull. Okay. The Kahr comes outfitted with these, the eye dot system, as I like to call it. And you get a notch at the back and you get a dot at the front, and you just kind of take the dot and line it up over the notch at the back, and basically creating a dot eye kind of a picture. Honestly, I'm not the biggest fan of these pictures, the sight picture. I do tend to like the Glocks with the box and the dot in the middle, or just your simple 3-dot sight. These are adjustable for windage. I'm not the biggest fan of it, but I'm getting used to it. This gun is accurate as any gun is going to be. But yeah, I'm not the hugest fan of it. But I mean, it works. It gets the job done. And a gun this small, compared to other 9mm, of course you're gonna expect there to be a bit more recoil as opposed to a full-size 9mm in comparison to a 9mm in this size. Now, I'm not very recoil sensitive, so this might be a bit subjective, but the recoil on this gun is very manageable. You do notice it. It does kick a little, but it's nothing that's just gonna wow you to the point of, basically, it's not gonna kick enough where you're not gonna enjoy shooting this gun.